So hello everyone, Modern here, welcome to my review of Gamers episode 10. I found it a pretty good episode. I actually found it not the best one in this anime for sure, right? Because I was definitely expecting much more of a conflict between it's like, okay, Chiaki knows that Urahara likes her, and that Aguri will find out that, and so on, right? But it starts off with like Amano like bribing her with cakes, like, eat not a cake. You are really cute today, Aguri. And then this new great look, right? He's like, really? You got the cake more? Like, yes. Eat not a cake. He was in the monologue, and he's all like, oh, what a loser she is, getting dumped, something like that, pretty much, right? Because he always like weird. He's kind of hateful, right? Like, I'm paraphrasing, but like. Sometimes with Amano, definitely, when he gets into this mode, he has the kind of hateful, kind of spiteful commentary. He's like, getting dumped, pitiful creature, he's not a cake, be happy with the kills. So, that's kind of start off. So I was expecting that, they're gonna tell her and it's gonna be all conflict, but they actually never did. Instead, in the end there, we see her when Urahara does this thing on the girls' side. She's like, you cheater, and she runs away and get a really funny running scene. Got Flint surrounding and so on. That was great. That was the best episode by far. And but that's kind of what I expected earlier. They also kind of got, I would say, the episode that thing got concluded because they actually catch up to her at the arcade, parked her for a bit, and the other girls get angry at him a bit. Like that is kind of fine. Amano gets here in his word, and I expected a lot there when Amano got there to be like, okay, he's gonna spoil it, right? He's gonna say something now. Okay, everyone's friendly again. He's gonna be like, oh, so you're okay with that? He's dumping you or something like that. That I expected. Was he kind of like going to that? But that didn't happen, right? Or did I miss it? It just kind of felt kind of weird. Like the episode was pretty good, and then the rest was really good, and then the whole arcade was good until he actually arrived. It was funny for a bit there, but then I expected it to be more confusing for everyone, or more like, oh, cliffhanger, yeah. But it actually didn't happen. So the episode has on the weakest spot. Still a funny episode in general, but it's been compared to like episode 6, especially about episode 7, and so on. For the episode here is it's slightly like if there were episode like 10 out of 10, 9 out of 10, and so on. Community wise, this is probably like 7 or 6.5. I find them was a little weaker, even though I love Aguri. So obviously it's a great episode in that sense. You get a little more Aguri, so her sister, or at least I interpret as her sister, to be honest. She said Imoto a few times, right? I was like, man, yeah, so this sister. So it was kind of weird, because it was kind of like, suddenly she has like a gyro guy or something, a gyro posse to hang out with on the side. And they're like, oh, you're dating this pig, a Buddha, and so on. So that's a great scene there, her get Hagen angry, like defending Urahara, right? Obviously he's a pretty hot guy, right? Which is kind of, I guess, her sister, that's how I interpret this. But yeah, but I mean, I'm pretty sure, I'm like 90% sure. But actually, it was a little bit like, because they were like a gang, and all three of them were kind of like a delinquents in kind of way, and so you kind of have kind of the anarchy vibe, where someone's like your sister, right, in your gang, your brother in your gang. So they say Annie, or Anne usually. So, and for that, then she could use Imoto for herself there. Because an Anne is your bigger, gang sister, but you still usually the Imoto sometimes. But yeah, so it's kind of like that's why I felt fantastic that is this her like side gang, like she has the gaming friendship, and she has the gyro gang, she's a gyro girl or something. So it had a little vibe of that, but I guess it's her actual sister. That at least should make sense, and she never showed her boyfriend's sister though. It's a little. Yeah, it's kind of like my sister. Yeah, I don't like her. So that was good. Aguri that. Aguri in the beginning was a great cake and so on. And generally, Aguri running was the best part. So yes, also every Aguri scene is the best scene, right? No, but they are definitely one of the best scenes. Then we had the phone scene, which I found slightly fun. It was pretty good. It was pretty good. Pretty always happened, but over for me, of course, at least as a Street Fighter player. So I played Street Fighter for many years, and I used a fighting gamer and fighting game researcher, designer, whatever, all that crap. Like, you seeing Dudley there up here, I was like, that is Dudley. There is no way that is not Dudley. It's like, it's like, yeah, okay, so he's talking to Tendo. It's pretty fun, they're back and forth. It's like, how you do this, Tendo? She's like, why are you asking me on the phone for this thing? Yeah, completely misunderstanding, right? Classic misunderstanding the dialogue and gamers. Then you see this boxer guy in the background. You're like, what's a boxer there? And it has the zoomed in face. and has those corkscrew mustache that the Dudley has. I was like, it has to be Dudley. It has to be Dudley. It's clearly Dudley. That was the best reference, in my opinion, at least in the whole anime. I was like, what? Why is suddenly Dudley there for? And I just like the reference to, because in many animes and manga, for example in Soku no Soma, this is this is a Street Fighter reference where like Soma is Ryu or Ken or something like that. I think he's Ryu, I think Aldini he's Ken, and like the other girls people there for Kami and Shini and so on. And then is it Nikumi or this blank? It's something weird. It's like either Nikumi or Arena is Blanca, and it's like, you know, yeah, and it's in Blanca clothes, so to speak, and something like that. So it's like a weird scene, but that's pretty typical. That's a pretty cute image there in Super for the Master One, but it's typical, right? You have the main character being Ryu, the main character from Street Fighter, the main character, but pretty much right. You have someone being in Bison, and yeah, that Bison is oh god, the hunter girl, yeah, the girl that does the wild stag thing. She's Bison, I believe, or something weird like that. But yeah, where's it came? No, but someone is a Bison. Anyway, sorry, but that is very typical, right? You have something like that. The main characters, the famous characters, Bison, Giles, or Street Fighter. But how often do you see Dudley? So I think that has a really good sense of like good like gay meta joke, because okay, here's a character from a fighting game that you probably doesn't know about unless you actually play a lot of Street Fighter, because he isn't a very big Street Fighter name. It's been a few games, and it's a pretty, I mean, he's a very noticeable character. As with Balrog, he can only punches, or boxers, he can only punch most of them as well. So I mean, I saw it right away as Dudley, but I mean, I guess at least you have to play some Street Fighter 4, something 5, and so on. So I think that for me, I think those are like the sweet moments of good references, in my opinion. Because the other ones are kind of funny usually, and you don't want to do the ones that are too extreme. You don't want to have like Ingrid, or her name is, like in one Street Fighter game, Street Fighter Triple, yeah. So you don't want to do a character like no one recognizes, right? But you better be like, is that Ingrid? It might be. She was in one game 10 years ago. But you have to be like super into it, and even then you're kind of like, man, maybe. You don't want that, because then like 1% of people watching it guess it, if best. But you don't. But in my opinion, you don't want that like everyone's like, oh, it's rude. I don't think you want it either usually, because that's just too for catching points. I think those kind of reference jokes are the best for you. You need a little, you know, like you need little nerd power to say, okay, it's Dudley, interesting. It's not Balrog, it's Dudley. Yeah, you kind of need the, because you need a little one step more of like nerd level up to recognize the correct reference. Exactly. You probably say, oh, it's Street Fighter, but then it's like, no, it's Dudley. Yeah, that being said, yeah, they all could be better in that sense though. Because it could have been more of a Street Fighter genre reference. It was a Street Fighter very famous genre, very famous franchise. So they could have a more broad Street Fighter reference, and so people in general say, oh, it's Street Fighter. But for example, look at Family Guy, we did Street Fighter. Then Peter is of course Ken, the American, and Mr. Washiwashi is the Honda, right? Typical the sumo. So very iconic characters for Street Fighter, and that's a very good like mainstream thing to do, right? So here games is a little more Japanese, a little more in that sense. So I think it's gonna be done better. I think it's gonna present it as okay, Street Fighter. Everyone gets the Street Fighter reference in general, but instead of having like Kanden, you have Dudley, because that's like a more. Then you add on the next step, right? So the first step everyone gets, everyone's like, haha, Street Fighter, and then to get the next step, or like to get it, but to really like, oh, it's Dudley, yeah, so you get the wow, it's Dudley effects. Then you have that step, right? So I guess it could be a little better for the general, just joke of it, perhaps, but for me, at least personally, I'm like, oh, it's Dudley, yeah. So for me, it's not, but probably someone didn't get it Dudley at all, so, or like even Street Fighter. But yeah, I think it's interesting because the anime has a lot of those game references. The running part, which is the funnest part, it's also generally like a Flintstone thing, it's generally like this cycle thing. And I like how the anime when I see Teleface, the fast line, it's like, run away, you're running for, yeah. So that's like good to see the general, it's kind of the just overall weird running for someone, because, and the general joke is like, stop running, and like, you know, yeah, why are you running after me? Because you're running away from me, and get that kind of reference, right? So, pretty good scene overall. Don't forget about Jetten, which is kind of course, the general narrative episode, which I didn't get focused a lot on, is of course, got Chiaki as like Chiaki and Konoha, right, talking in her room, and she's sad. She's like, okay, but I love Keita. First thing I said the game, but I said it again here. Star Ocean. It's got Star Ocean, second story. The game even had its name. It's called like Space Ocean, was second story. Amazing JRPG game. Very classic PlayStation 1 JRPG game. Released probably in like late 90s, or 98, 99 probably, maybe 2000. I'll guess 98, I think. Very classic JRPG game. I have that game. I have the most. I think you have like 1, 2, 4, and 5 actually. I don't have 3 actually. But anyway, classic JRPG franchise. A little more on the cult side though. So again, I think that's already a really good reference actually. Of course, you talked about that game and so on, but I think that's like another really good reference there, which is lying there with the Star Ocean game, because if it was like Final Fantasy, I was like, okay, Final Fantasy, play that game. If it was more like a secondary big franchise, like a Suikoden, something like that, maybe Better Fire to PlayStation 1, then it would be like, classic JRPG game, classic JRPG franchises. Or I guess Tales, which is really big now, but back in the days, you had Tales game. They weren't very big that time frame, right? So Star Ocean 2 is a really good pick there, because it's like that's a JRPG game that is very, very big on cult classic, but it never got mainstream attention like some other games. Not just Final Fantasy, but like, as I mentioned, Suikoden, which is like, I think it's a much bigger name than Star Ocean games. That being said, though, maybe any comments here, but Star Ocean game hasn't been very good since the first 2 games, though. So that also is a reason, though. Like Suikoden games, the 4 is horrible, but 1 to 3 and 5 are amazingly good. Like Better Fire 1, okay, the 1's not good. 2 to 4 is amazing. 5 is special, it's very different, and so on, right? So that also, so Star Ocean 2 is a very classic thing, because that's this is the absolutely best that France ever was. Because all the games after that didn't really like accomplish anything, and then that franchise, right, goes like that's the cult classic. This is the perfect game 3As did, right? I think 3As. Correct me if I'm wrong. 3As to doing Star Ocean, right? I would say so. It is. Or is it 3 whatever, yeah. So they're perfect. There's the apex of them. After that, it went downhill, right? Well, I love this as a fate though, and the one was a game to. I looked at the review. I looked at the game here. To her side there, though, there was a game that, in my opinion, this was extremely similar to Resistance of Fate, actually, which is another game from 3As, not a JRPG game, but the text was really different. So I was like, I guess it isn't, but to me, graphic-wise, color-wise, it was very similar. And the game behind that first gave me a Wildlands 4 feel, another JRPG game, but I looked at it again, I was like, nah, it's probably more like. I actually couldn't figure out. Leave a comment here if you know the game. All of them, of course, especially that game in the top corner. Because I was like, it's not Wildlands. I think I definitely feel like I've seen it before. Obviously, they changed the name of it and changed the color. Maybe not the color, but they changed some of the characters. But I think they kept the color. So I was like, that is a game I am so. I have it on my tongue, right? It's like that I have seen before. Absolutely. The other games were next to her. But I think that was Resistance of Fate. You said it was like, well, it should be. Otherwise, it's probably like dark. Text sounds like blood something. So, or otherwise like Bloodborne, I guess, something reference to text-wise. But I was like, man, that looks Resistance of Fate. But it would make sense too, because it's the same company that did the games it's holding and hanging around, which he also likes, of course, because they're so similar. So yeah. Well, yeah. What I want to say again here is that. It's kind of funny though, because she's lying on the ground, right, having all the games on like hugging, Star Ocean, classic every game, and the PS4 is here behind her, and it looks weird because the PS4 isn't plugged into anything. It's just, she sits there on the floor. She's like, has all the games around her, like all the time with that, right? But why wouldn't the PS4 have this? It's just really empty. There's no TV behind it, and there's no cable, so it's like it sits there empty. Like when you have that, you have all the games put around you, and it's at the middle of the floor. It's like. Doesn't do much there. That was a little weird. That felt a little lazy. Like put it there. Like okay. But anyway, her actual emotions, and that at this point in the episode generally, that didn't focus much on her emotions, on Chiaki, right? But I think there's a good scene there, of course. I mean, it's again a lot of references, a lot of different games around her. I felt like I corrected most of them. So I'm sure someone like, oh yeah, that game and so on. And but yeah, and it's like it's a sad scene. She lies there. She's like, "Do I like him? Because obviously for her, she's like, oh, I thought I liked Urahara. That's kind of her impression in the beginning. She was like, oh, hot guy likes me, it's fun. Now she knows, but now she believes she knows that he likes her. And she's like, that's pretty sweet. But then she says like, actually, but I do like Heta. And her sister Kunohouse, she's like, well, you know this now, but shouldn't you? I think it was a good scene. She was like, what does Nobe feel like, or whatever, like her internet persona. Like, oh, what do your like other personality? Who does she love? It's like, Keta, or like, Yama-san, yeah, like that, whatever. So I think that was good, very interesting. But I wish it had more of that. Definitely. That was a good scene. It's a really good scene actually. But it was very short, right? It was very, very short. I think there should be way more of that. So that's disappointed in the episode. What was wrong with the episode? I mean, generally it was like pretty good, but it felt like I was thinking that was the pacing the issue, because it felt like they could have more stuff happening. I think generally I'm disappointed, or like I'm surprised they didn't go for more of the pandemonium. Aguri finding out, he getting confused. But it started out with this build up of Amano like, eat cake, honey, eat cake, your love is still here, like that. Then that just didn't happen, or just called Nintendo, and it was really fun and weird, but still, so it's kind of a weird episode, and it didn't end on like a cliffhanger either, which I especially the most, right? Because the ending was very perfect for Man to come in and be like, oh, you broke up with her, interesting. It's like, but he dumped you, that. Why would he dump me? That didn't happen. That surprised me a lot, and I felt like that should have happened necessarily because it would be more fun, but also there would be a better cliffhanger. And I was like, oh, what happened? And before he could say it, oh, it's fine. It's fine. Okay. I don't know anything. Yeah, nothing happened from that. So that was strange. Anyway, I'll see you guys next week and have a great day.